Hey everyone, I am Melanie Carstens and welcome to Stacks Pulse. This is your weekly deep dive into the people and projects that are making waves in the Stacks ecosystem. And today on Stacks Pulse, I am joined by Victor, known on X as Paper to Screen. Victor is a strategic management consultant and he is also a Stacks blockchain developer, founder of CineX, a decentralized film financing platform that rethinks, reimagines how independent filmmakers can access the capital that they need. CineX combines, and this is what makes it really special, traditional African cooperative savings models with the Bitcoin security via stacks and Clarity smart contracts. So a very exciting conversation about what the future of transparent revenue sharing looks like. Before we dive in, a quick note, this is independent Bitcoin media. So if you enjoy the show, please support my work by liking, sharing, subscribing on YouTube. And you can also use the link in my bio for additional ways to support my work. So thank you for joining us today and welcome to Victor.
Hi. Hi, Melanie. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you here. We're running a little bit late today because we had some technical issues. You are watching us live on the African continent where we were just having a giggle before we came on saying, this is how we roll in Africa. It works eventually.
It works
Uh,
eventually. It
it works. It
does.
works. We are now technical fundies on Restream and how to make it work. All right. So before we dive into the kind of meat of the show, talking about what you're building and so on, let's kick it off with your background. So tell us a little bit about Victor. Where are you from? What you enjoy doing when you are not a strategic management consultant or a blockchain founder. So let's talk about a little bit about where you grew up and who is Victor.
Okay, I grew up in Lagos. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, which everyone knows is actually the commercial nerve center of Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I've always loved the arts and media right from when I was a child. I grew up, for as long as I knew, I grew up having a literary gift that I don't understand how I got it. So it was, people would like to call it inherent, or maybe it was something the creator gave me. And I just grew
Yeah.
up liking, I grew up liking words, and I saw words as images than words and letters. And I think over the years, I
Wow.
grew up that way. I grew up that way, wanting to explore words. I would, at 18, I think I won a poetry contest, a radio poetry contest, and I
Mm.
didn't know what I was writing. I just knew I wrote something. Funny enough, the poetry was because I had a heartbreak. I asked the girl out and she didn't accept, and then I poured out my heart in that poetry, and I won something. Okay.
Oh, that is brilliant. Well, there we are. That is a true story of a silver lining right there. Hey?
And that was when I realized when I won so that was the defining moment. The silver lining, like you said, that poem that got me that prize on Echo Radio, right? It's Lagos Radio, but it's called Echo Radio, Echo FM. It's the biggest public-owned radio station in Lagos State. I think even in Nigeria as at then when I was a kid, I think about 18 years. But after that incident, it dawned on me that there was something special about my literary gifts. And then I decided I was going to go into the arts, dabbled in music a bit with a boy band, and that didn't work. We all decided, we all separated. I played the keyboards a bit, did vocal coaching a bit, and then I eventually found myself about in my almost in my mid 20s. I found myself with filmmakers because I started writing. I converted my poetry skill to writing films and writing stories, scripts, and then stumbled upon an Nollywood director just like that. And then he decided to mentor me, and then I was adopted into his private film academy, and that was how I became a filmmaker by mistake.
Isn't that amazing though? Isn't that, like you said, I mean, the sort of gift that you were given with words, it's
Yeah.
almost like, I mean, it makes you believe in destiny, doesn't it? It makes you
Yeah.
believe that your path is carved out and you're kind of just a participant in it because you were
Mm,
given these
mm, mm.
gifts, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, what a beautiful story. What was it like growing up in Lagos?
It was tough. Lagos is not for the weak. I haven't been abroad. I haven't lived outside of Nigeria, but I hear people who've been abroad say New York is chaotic, like it's
Mm,
hustle bustle, and I think that's what Lagos is like. Lagos is like the New York of Nigeria. If you can't survive in New York, I don't think you can survive anywhere, and that's how Lagos is. So it was tough as a kid. I did odd jobs for a living because I didn't come from a well-to-do home. And those things shaped me, but I didn't lose my literary gift somehow in the midst of the struggle. And somehow here I am.
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it's amazing, and shows as well how kind of I think you really need to be aware, specifically if you're growing up in a place where things, or in a family where things aren't kind of just handed to you on a platter. You really have to kind of dig deep as well into what those skills or what those gifts are, because I think, don't you think that, oh, sorry, don't you think that we're all technical difficulties? Today is a day of technical difficulties. Um, I mean, you're in the creative industry. Do you think that creativity is inherent in everybody? We just don't kind of have the luxury of exploring it. I mean, what does creativity look like to you? Do you see it everywhere, or is it something that, do you think it's something that's kind of like not encouraged because it's not really a field that you can make money into? So people don't even have the opportunity to find out whether they're good at, or whether they are
Yeah,
creative.
yeah. So I used to have this saying. I say that monsters are not born, they are made.
Yeah.
Monsters are made, and when I mean monster, I mean generically. um I mean, some of the unicorn startups we have today can be called great monsters now. They have become monstrous. They are so big you can't just bring them down anymore, but they were made.
Yeah.
And I believe that everyone is born a clean slate, and then we begin to rub on those slate whatever we interface with in life. So I really am not a proponent for saying creativity is completely 100% inherent, because I could have thrown my gift in the dustbin. Like,
Mm,
I mean, I went through a lot of hell, and sometimes I don't want to recount the hell, right? And but somehow I remember vividly. I remember vividly that a time in my life came when um it was so bad for me economically that I had to wash cars for a living. But in washing those cars, the gift I had, and the times as a kid when those gifts got me the spotlight, both in music and in poetry, those visions played in my head in those dire moments of my life. And so I told myself, this cannot be all the picture of me. This
mm,
current state can't be all the picture. So I think that what people go through in life, whatever they make do of, whatever they go through, is what eventually becomes creativity. When you make best of what life gives you, like they say, life throws you lemons, and then you make lemonade out of it. When you do that, that eventually makes you creative. That's creativity to me. When you make the
yeah.
best out of what life has thrown out of you, that's creativity.
I love that. And it's so true, right? Because that's what makes us feel what it feels like to be human.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that is a beautiful way of looking at. I love that. Um, so you kind of, this creative person, you sort of spoke about your story about how you got into film, which I want to kind of go back to, and then I want to touch on the strategic management side of things. Um, this, did you go and work? So you worked around Nigeria, or was it particularly just in Lagos that you met this filmmaker and that you kind of started maybe sort of, learning about the industry and creating films? Just talk me through that a little bit.
Okay, so I stumbled upon the director just like that through a family friend, and somehow got admitted into his private film academy, and so started that way. And then my student film project, we worked together, and eventually we moved away from Lagos because he needed, like, there are times when you have competition and then you need to move on to where there's less competition. And there are times you need that in life. Like, you don't have to always be in the red waters. One of the reasons why I embraced the blue ocean strategy when I began to consult was because I learned how I do not like to compete. And I say it boldly. I do not think life is a competition. I think life is always being in our different spaces. So we eventually moved away from Lagos to Abuja, the capital of Nigeria. And that gave us the opportunity in a place where it wasn't too crowded with filmmakers, because Lagos is a commercial nerve of Nigeria. So everything happens there, media, entertainment, banking, finance, everything happens in Lagos, but not in Abuja. Abuja is just the political seat. And so we got to Abuja, and from there we practiced there, we continued. And then I came to Jos to shoot a movie for a TV drama series for one of the stations on DSTV. And that was how I didn't go back to either Abuja or Lagos again. I loved it because Jos is almost like Europe in terms of its weather. It's like Europe a bit. So I loved the weather, and I didn't want to go back to the heat in Lagos or Abuja. So I stayed back, and then from here I went back to school to do journalism and media studies. And in the middle of, so I'm taking the story now to how I started consulting. In the middle of doing my studies, it was a distant learning program with the Institute of Commercial Management in the UK. So it was a British studies program, but it was a distant learning program. And so I interfaced with the British curriculum, and that shaping me. My exams, my thesis, the things I worked on, normal work activity, were like I was working on thesis, and it forged out the literary skill in me. And then one of these days, I don't want to say this on camera, but I've got to. One of these days, I helped a colleague who is known in the Nigerian campus for the school, as she was not too brilliant. The principal knew that she was really not too good. She was a working class lady, but she really was not really good with her academics, and she needed help so that she didn't just waste her money. And so she approached me, and I charged her money to write her exams.
There we go. So the entrepreneurial spirit, it runs deep in you. That's terrible.
I needed to survive. As at that moment, I was paying for my education. I was working as a content creator for my church, and so the church pastor actually is the founder of the company that actually partners with the ICM. And so he gave me some form of benefit of that. So I would be paid my salary, and a little bit of it to be removed to pay my tuition. And so when I saw that I needed to really, really up my game, so then when I saw the opportunity to write this, thesis for this lady, I took it and I wrote for her. And her younger sister came and saw I did well, and begged me to write for her too. So I dived into research. Hold on a minute, please. I need to power my system. Dominic, please help me with my power pack. So I'm so sorry.
No, go for it.
That's why we're Africans.
Yeah, man, this is how we roll. That's why we can. If you've lived in Africa or you're born in Africa, you can pretty much do it anyway.
Yeah. So I'm back.
Yeah. So I mean, look, the silver lining again is you learned something, and
and that was how I became a consultant. And then I was approached by the school principal, like, hey, guy, we noticed this happened and this happened, but we noticed you're close to this person. So they investigated, and I was like, hey, it's you. And I thought I was going to get some penalty. I was going to be penalized. And then I was called to say, okay, you know what? We have a problem here. We are very, very busy executives writing these exams, and they don't have time. And we have a lack of talents. But we see you have something. Do you think you can begin to write for our busy executives? I'm like, oh, cool, no problem.
Wow. That's
And then
amazing.
I signed up. I'd never done management. I didn't have an MBA. And that was how I dug into business, corporate strategy. I began to research, I began to buy books, and I began to do corporate strategy. And then I stumbled upon John Maxwell, Blue Ocean Strategy. I began to dig deep. So let's just say I'm a street thought consultant. And I began to hire guys to work on financial management for my clients. And that's the long story short.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, what a story it is. And it's definitely not even, I mean, I think it's only beginning, your story,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I think, just how ripe it is, I think, is the word. It's so full of experience, and those are the things that, like you say, that all it's life's experiences and life's difficulties, the creative way that you've dealt with those things. And
Yeah.
look at you
Yeah.
now you are here as a founder on Stacks. Let's talk about how you discovered Stacks and
Oh,
Bitcoin. I mean, blockchain. How did you get there into
okay.
crypto?
Okay, so I'm gonna give a shout out to my ex-girlfriend. She
Oh, this
did
story is
that
going
for
to be my
me.
best story.
I'm trying to get back to her anyway, and hopefully I believe we will. We're back in talking terms, and she did this for me. She brought the consciousness of Bitcoin to me when she introduced me to her brother-in-law, who was a crypto trader. He's still a crypto trader and is based in Abuja. So, and then she was like, hey, I know you consult for clients. My brother-in-law needs to diversify. He's just trading, but we need him to diversify his portfolio. Something away from just the speculative trading,
Mhm.
something else. I was like, okay, no problem. I could bring my skills. And then so I joined his company, and that was how I got to know about Bitcoin and the entire crypto landscape. And I tried a little bit to trade myself, got my fingers burnt. But then I noticed something, that I noticed that despite the bear and bull runs and all of those things, the founders of these technologies, these different technologies, Ethereum and the rest of them, never got burnt out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed that it was the guys who were dabbling, who were speculating, that got burnt out.
Hmm.
And I was like, something is wrong somewhere in this model also. Why everybody's just speculating? Nobody's thinking of, isn't there something beyond speculating in crypto?
Yeah.
And so after we lost about a 50 million naira, I don't know what that is now in dollars, but me and my boss, we lost about $50 million in futures trading.
Oh,
And we were almost dragged by people we're trading for, and almost taken to the police and all of that. So when I got out of that, I said, you know what, I'm going to find out the technology behind this thing and not be a trader. I
mm,
want to know this technology, and I
hmm,
don't want to know it as either a business consultant. I don't want to do any theoretical thing. I want to know this technology. And that
yeah.
was around 2021. I got out of trading. I never traded again from that day till now. I left
Mm,
trading, and then I went on to other things, to consult and do other things, to earn a living. And then fast forward, last I think 2 years ago, I got a job with an NGO as a head of operations. I was recommended there by one of my mentors, and I began to work. It was a tech NGO, and then I interfaced with an Ethereum Solidity developer there. And he's a Nigerian. He works with the Remix team directly. He works directly with Vitalik.
wow.
Yeah, he works directly with Vitalik. Like, they go together with Vitalik. They go out for conferences and all that. He has a direct contact with Vitalik. So I interfaced with him when he came to my NGO and saw what we were doing. Our NGO provides tech education for children for free. So I was the head of operations and also program manager. So I managed the program management and all of that. And I also dabbled as project manager. I wore a lot of hats. Let's just say I wore a lot of hats because it was a small NGO. So that helped me become very versatile. I gained a lot of skills in project management besides my normal management consulting. And then I interfaced with this dude when he managed to, fund our program. Let me not call it directly, but indirectly with Ethereum, because they saw what we loved, they saw what we're doing for children, and they knew really blockchain for kids is not, you can't find it anywhere. Kids have nothing to do with blockchain most times. So that was when I saw him physically. That was my first time meeting a blockchain developer in my entire life. And when I saw him, and I saw when we had our meetings, our Zoom meetings with officials of Ethereum and Solidity, and I interacted with them as program manager, I loved what I heard. And that desire was born again. And so I decided I was going to revisit that dream I dumped about some years back. And so I started looking for a course on Solidity to become a developer. I went 7 months into Solidity and I stumbled on something. The programming language of Solidity was not decidable like Clarity. I just knew something was wrong. I didn't know what to call it, but I knew I didn't like what the programming language looked like because I had started Python a bit earlier too. So I said, isn't there something besides Solidity? And then I remembered Bitcoin. Suddenly I was like, there is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the real blockchain. And then I asked myself a question. What is happening to Bitcoin? Why are there no smart contracts for Bitcoin? Why is it just Ethereum? And why is it the other L2, Solana, and the rest? And I began to investigate. And Melanie, lo and behold, I think just 2 or 3 days into my investigation, I saw Stacks. I was like, what?
No, that's right. You just wonder how more people don't find it, right? Because I also found Stacks like 2 or 3 days into my journey of like that exact same thought, Victor, because I come from the art industry as well, representing artists and musicians. And I was like, okay, Bitcoin, how do you put art on Bitcoin? Google, 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 Stacks, amazing. And when was that? When was that?
Okay, so that was about I think August last year or September. That was when I stumbled on Stacks.
Okay.
And I was already 7 months into Solidity, writing Solidity. And then I was now at the crossroads. Should I continue with Solidity and learn Clarity by the side, which is the programming language for Stacks, or should I dump Solidity? But then I realized I didn't have all time, and I learned this from my interfacing with management consultancy, especially with, I don't know much about investment finance, but I know a little bit about the philosophy behind investment. There is something called risk tolerance in investing. And in risk tolerance, there are certain indices you look at by which you determine how much you weight your portfolio. And so one of that is called age. You must check your age when you're investing into certain portfolios. The older you are, you must be careful how you invest into things, because if anything happens and there's a drawdown, you will go down. You might not be able to survive it like a 25-year-old who is investing. And so I looked at my age. As of last year, I had clocked 40.
Sure. You look so young.
And I was like, I hear that all the time. Thank you. Amazing. I hear that all the time. So as at last year, I clocked 40 April last year. So I'm 41 now anyways. So when I was starting, so I had already gone way past. And when I saw that I didn't have age on my side anymore, because by being on the streets, trying to hustle through the streets, age I really like knocked out my age, and I'm like, now going to tech at this age, I needed not to be a kid. I didn't need shiny objects. So and one of the things I see on the blog in Web3, so many people are obsessed with shiny objects. No, maybe my age had to teach me to really go down for what was real world case studies. And I said, I don't need shiny objects. I don't need to learn all the programming languages in the world. I need to solve one problem in the world. If I can
Yeah.
find that skill, if I can find that one skill, I will face it and I'm not going to learn any other thing. And that was
Mm.
my risk management plan. And so I said, you know what? I think I should dump Solidity and face Clarity, because what I see about Clarity, when I read the documentation and I read the Clarity language book and then stumbled upon, all other documentations, I told myself this thing is going somewhere. And I read and I heard about Munib Ali and read a little bit about him, and I told myself, this is going somewhere. And I think I should just throw every other thing in the dustbin. Solidity, just go away for now. So I had to start all over. Now the problem was, how do I convince my girlfriend that something had started? I'm going so and she
Is
was
this
going to
the
be like,
girlfriend that now you trying to get back together with?
yes. How do I
Uh,
convince her? Because I'm going to look like an unserious dude. Like, you started something, we saw the potential, we know you're going to get somewhere. You're going to get somewhere being a blockchain developer, and then you come back and say you're dumping it for something new. Dude, you must be unserious, and I'm going to leave you. So I decided I was going to do it. If I lose the relationship, fine. If I don't, I lost it anyways.
mm,
But I decided to stick to my guns, and I started Clarity with the free documentations. And then I believe you know Setzus.
yes.
Yep. So Setzus was the final miracle for me. In November or December, while the Christmas was approaching, I suddenly stumbled on 100 Days with Clarity, Setzus on YouTube. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, this is it. So I
Yeah.
did 19 days of Clarity, and then I was stuck because 19 days was free. But the remaining days to the 100 days was premium. So I had to look
Yeah.
for money. Eventually, I got the money and I reached out to Setzus. I bought the course and I did 2 months. I was supposed to do 100 days, but by the time I was day 56, Melanie, you won't believe it. My entire brain was popping up, maybe because of my management consultancy background, but my entire brain was popping up with real world case studies to work on. I couldn't continue the program. So I paused and I shot straight into my code editor and started writing a project. My first project was a sustainable development project, climate change project. I wanted to do something about climate financing. But midway, 2 weeks after, I discovered I know nothing about climate financing. I don't know jack.
Yeah.
I took a UN course, a little bit climate financing, some UNDP courses, but they were just theory. I didn't have real skill. So I realized I
Mm,
was going to shoot myself. I needed something. And then I remembered, hey Victor, you were a filmmaker before you left that world. You know the problem in film. It's financing, right?
mm.
So here you are. And so I dumped climate financing and I decided, you know what, CineX. And I started little by little, and that's the story. That's
What an incredible story. It's, you really have 100 stories in your life. You've lived such a full and interesting and truly creative life, you know.
mm,
Um,
mm.
I love it, Victor. What a story. Okay, so now so that's when I met you. I met you uh, earlier this year. When was it that the D grants kicked off? August, September?
So yep. But we met before then.
Yes, on the
We had met
spaces.
on we had met on Peace World. We had met on Peace World um
Yes,
on the stream. Yeah,
yeah,
300 was there, GPS
yeah,
and all of that.
yes,
Yep,
yes.
yep.
I remember that now. Okay, yes. Um, okay, and then you kind of got into the D grants. Let's talk about that process. So at this point, you kind of had this idea. I mean, it's a huge gap. Whether you are making real life film or digital film, artificial intelligence, whatever it is, you're going to need funding for film. So
Yep,
um,
yep.
I think it's an important funding is a vital part of the future, you know, and specifically bringing ways to crowd fund to blockchain. So I think this once you kind of get this model right, I think it's something that can apply to all creative fields, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about the D grant program. So you put in a proposal to build CineX, and you received from me a grant to build this. I fell in love with the idea the minute I heard about it, and your passion as well. So let's talk about that. So we've sort of already spoken about this idea that you've got this experience in film. You've now developed this experience in building and stacks, and now this idea, this problem of how do we fund film in real life. Let's talk about the how that funding is going to happen. The idea that you're using these traditional African savings models, um, and how you trust minimizing those through blockchain, and introducing this idea to blockchain. So let's go back and talk about this historical way of funding and why it is a popular way of funding on the continent and so on.
So we know that traditionally in Africa, trust is, I think globally anyway, in every society, trust is your biggest currency. For those of us who study the history of money, people have different in-depth knowledge of money. The little I have, I know for sure that money is not really paper. Money is actually trust that can be, let me use the word, that can be monetized. So if I trust you, and that means reputation. Trust is simply a reputation that can be bankable. So if I trust your reputation as Melanie, the reason you endorsed CineX was because somehow there was a reputation. Howbeit, maybe that reputation was just still nascent, but it's a reputation nonetheless. And so in Africa here, in communities and villages, reputation is an important thing. And when your reputation is known, you can just walk up to somebody and take credits and do something. Even in banks, even in traditional banking system, certain people, so there is something in economics called the Cantillon effect. The Cantillon effect. So the Cantillon effect is that those who are close to the government circles, when there is quantitative easing, or when money is released into the economy, they have the opportunity to receive these funds from the bank and plow it into their businesses, and then the masses, in quotes, get to pay for the for these loans sometimes that don't get returned. So, but these people can exploit the Cantillon effect because they have a reputation in society. And so CineX decided there is no point in reinventing the wheel. Something that is already as old as mankind, Web3 cannot destabilize it. And I'm sorry, but I do not believe I'm not of that school of thought that believes that Web3 is coming to disrupt anything. It's not coming to disrupt anything. It's coming to enhance what society already has lived on for millennials of years. I mean, the internet came, and then people began to have shops on Web 2. People were able to put shops on Web 2. And then community, and then Zuckerberg came with FB and Facebook and made community. It's been community. We've always had communities. And then people go to universities not just to school alone, but to hang out and to meet peer groups and there are many people who even send kids to school so that they could go to a particular kind of school where they would make certain connections because of life later. And Facebook just came to amplify that. So I saw CineX as an opportunity to amplify what's already existent in society. Simple. If we have filmmakers across Nigeria and Africa and across the world, that have a reputation in their small or big society, they can monetize their reputation. They can simply have a platform where I know you, you know me, and then no gates, no gatekeepers. We just come together, and there are no sanctions. Nobody's sanctioning anyone here. There are no sanctions from the gatekeepers affecting distribution. It's just two people who know how these things work, not some studio executives anyway. And we come together, we we endorse each other because we know each other, and
Hmm.
that's the money itself. That's really the currency itself for transaction, our reputation. And so
Yeah.
when we join together this reputation, we create a verifiable system on Stacks, and Stacks has built on Stacks, yes, through CineX, and then we just transact, and that even helps Bitcoin now have, then the capital that's on Bitcoin that's always been just dormant, used for speculative trading, becomes real movable capital for creative capital. It now
Hmm.
becomes capital that is moved here and there for production capital. And that's just what I decided to do with CX. I think just what people will say, KISS, keep it simple and stupid. That's what I did with
Yeah.
CX.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. Let's talk about let's take blockchain out of it and let's talk about what this, because we have a similar thing here in South Africa. You and I have spoken about this before. And I think, you were talking about reputation and how we had a very instant connection around this idea of, I think it's because we both, how can I say, for me, I looked at this, what we call the stokvel here in South Africa, which is the same concept where people come together as a group and save. So I just want to kind of talk about that. I think that's what our connection was this, we both understood what the savings model was, how different it is from, you know, um, although I think there are other countries that do use it, but let's explain, what is this? How does it work? How do you have this reputation based savings? Say you and me now wanted to interact outside of blockchain. This is in the old days where we
Yeah.
would just, so let's explain it, how it would work.
So in many societies, it's called ROSCA, rotational savings credit associations. It's just something where it's an informal kind of financial arrangement where people who know each other, because that must be the metric, they know each other, they pool funds together. For example, I know this one happens in my country a lot. You told me about yours too. It happens in my country a lot, and mostly women. Women, like, okay, like for example, this is like this Christmas holiday season. Oh, amazing! I have a plethora of examples in this Christmas. So we saw so many people who, from the beginning of January, they had already created this pool, and
Hmm.
we call it here. It has different names depending on the part of the country. That Nigeria is quite heterogeneous. We have so many tribes. Some tribes call it Ajo. Some tribes call it Adashe. Some tribes call it Esusu. It depends on what you call it, but it's rotational credit. So this group, most of them are women, and they have a few men, you know, and they've been there together since January, and they say, okay, you know what, the Christmas season, things get really expensive in
Yeah.
Christmas season. And so traders want to exploit people who want to celebrate, during the holidays. So you know what? Let's pool funds so that whatever happens on Christmas Day or during the holidays, we can foot our expenses. So you know what? Okay, we'll be contributing 20,000 naira a month. Everybody, 10 of us, 20 of us, 15 of us. Let's just keep contributing, and so people begin to contribute. They begin to contribute, and then you bring your own in January. Everybody pulls together. February they pull together. Somebody's taking account stock and reporting to everybody, and then by November, pulling stops because you can't pull in December.
Yeah.
Pulling stops, and then we begin to, somebody saddled the responsibility to begin to purchase things. So they've already agreed that, okay, you know what? Hey, we're 20, we're going to need two cows or three cows to kill and share the meat. We're going to need some gallons of vegetable or whatever, olive oil for cooking. We're going to need some food items. Whatever it is, they agree. And then they pull these funds together. And guess what, Melanie? No, oftentimes, those monies are not embezzled.
Yeah. But that's where
They're not
trust and
embezzled.
reputation comes in. Let's face it.
Not all the time, not all the time, right? But oftentimes, the monies are
Yeah.
not embezzled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's where trust and reputation comes in, and to choose your kind of the people that you're going to hook up with to make this, because you're
Yeah.
basically
True.
making
True.
a mini business, a mini bank, a mini distribution model. I mean, you're basically creating a bank and a shop, where
Aha! You got it.
yeah,
You know what, Melanie? I've been trying to run away from using that language for a while.
but it is.
Actually, you're smart.
Not really. I'm keeping it simple, stupid. That's the thing. It's, how do
Simple,
you, it's,
stupid.
but
In
it's
fact,
also,
it's
I
a
think
bank. It's actually a bank.
it is
It's a bank.
it's a mini finance. Yeah, it's a bank. And,
It's a
that's,
bank, actually.
yeah. So, as much as, yeah, we don't like it, it's not a traditional bank, but it's a bank of sorts that is small and led by the people, a decentralized bank, you know.
Yeah.
All
Bank
right.
without
So,
borders.
yeah, exactly. A bank amongst, that's the thing, and I I would rather bank in that way anyway than with big corporate banking, specifically around the reputation side of things. I mean, we're talking traditionally now. We're not talking about now. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different now than it was when your villages were a little bit more isolated. Historically, we kind of weren't connected on a global level like we are now. So I think it was very
Mm.
different then as well. And I think it really, to me, the way I think about it, it started even way back before then, when you would spend the whole year kind of working to bring food together to then share it out, because historically that's how we would have lived in small villages. You're not going to go out and just get raw food for yourself. I don't think that's how things worked way back, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
True.
think that's kind of where the idea started.
You're
So
right. Yeah.
yeah, it's about sort of sharing is caring, as our parents told us when we were small. Yeah,
Sharing is caring, and it's still sharing is still caring. Still
yeah.
caring. Yeah.
So now
So,
we've kind of incorporated this basic model. So now, how does it work? Now people have a smart contract, so they can invest their money into. Is it like a multi-sig? How does the money sort of come together? If I'm a filmmaker now and I see your website and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm now want to fund my film. So obviously I've got a script or some sort of synopsis or something. Take me through what that vision is.
okay. So I'm going to keep it as simple. I'm trying to run away from every technical blockchain jargon here.
Yes. This is
So
not a
when you said
technical
multi,
show. No, I just want to
when you
know.
said when you said
Hey?
multi-sig, I frowned because I'm going to run away from every jargon.
Okay.
I'm kidding, right? I frown. I'm kidding, right? But
Yeah. But that's the saying,
one of the
Victor, this is not a
one of the
technical show. So,
so one of the barriers to Web3 has been that Web3 looks like it's for the initiated. Like there's some
mm,
cults around it. And CineX is an ambitious project trying to for once show that blockchain can just be for the normal person. So like you rightfully pointed out, very smartly so, even though I tried running away from that terminology, CineX is just a bank without borders for creative freedom. So you can't. I don't think I live in Nigeria, so I can't say my reality may not be yours or may not be a Hollywood star's reality. But I beg to think, even in Hollywood, no creative can just walk into a traditional bank and drop a synopsis and drop some executive summary and proposal and say, "Hey, I need a loan." I don't think so.
No.
So what? So for CineX, what it means is simple. Those things that traditional bankers don't understand about film, we do. CineX does because CineX was built or is being built by a filmmaker. A filmmaker knows. I know. I was trained as a screenplay writer. I know before you can ever have a movie, you need a screenplay. But before you can have a screenplay or a script itself, you need to first of all have a synopsis. And before you can have a synopsis, you even need a log line, just maybe a one line description of what this whole thing is. And before you can do that, you even need a character Bible or a character backstory. You need to have really worked on your character backstory. And all of these things, you still need a storyboard. There's a whole lot of work that
Hmm.
traditional bankers don't appreciate that is being put into filmmaking. So on CineX, when you come to create a campaign, you say, "Hey, I want to raise funding as a filmmaker," every drop down option appreciates this aspect. Hey, you know what? Drop information, details about your movie. What's it all about? What's the description all about? What genre does it fall under? Those things that these guys in the bank will not ask you about. They just want to see their ROIs. Can an ROI come out of this? If it's not clear, of course, most times it's not clear for creative project, but that's what creativity is all about. It's not really clear per se.
Hmm.
But then you can't throw it assumes there is nobody who doesn't consume film. Even the topmost executives sits at home to watch movies. And why then do
Yeah.
we trash movies like it's junk? So CineX is you can just come on board, create a campaign. You can actually just drop all of the details. What's the movie all about? What's the synopsis if you have it? Then you also could tell us a little bit about yourself, which is there is a verification aspect where you're going to verify yourself. You drop your profile and drop your portfolio, and then fellow filmmakers come on board who also come on board. You invite, they can actually now that's where the reputational system comes, reputation based. They come and say, "Hey, I saw Victor raise a campaign. He says he worked with me on a project. No, I don't know him. He's a liar." So they don't endorse that project. But then if I
Yes.
claim to say I worked, okay, you create the film and I say, "I'm Victor. I'm so. I'm trying to work on this movie. This is what it's all about." Maybe I drop a trailer itself, or maybe I don't. And I claim that I've also had roles where I worked with Spielberg. And Spielberg comes to say, "Yeah, I know Victor." That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. That should be enough for
Hmm.
someone to say, "Cool. If this guy knows this guy, these guys have professional mutual connections, like on LinkedIn, or
Hmm.
then that's money. That's currency enough for me to want to
Yeah.
put. That's enough for me to want to put my money. So the public can say, I'm going to back this project. I may not get a whole lot of money back as returns, but maybe if I get something as a merchandise, or I even get one or two, three, $10 back as my reward. Maybe when this thing grows, whatever it is, the filmmaker decides to give back as a reward. Fine. and then
Hmm.
and then the other side where you have the private pools itself. That's where you want to move away from the public part, like a bank, right? So let's use the analogy of the bank. um we have people who can walk into the bank and the bank will sit down with them and really assess their proposals.
Yeah.
So that's what the private pool is all about. So um, let me even let me not say, let me call it like a venture capital, right? So a private
Mm.
VC. That's what. So I wouldn't even call it the bank, because I would say the
Yeah.
bank part is the public crowdfunding where anybody's money is in the bank. So the bank takes that money and funds
Right.
your and gives a particular entrepreneur. That's my public crowdfunding feature on CineX. But the private VC part is, hey, you know what? I'm creating this movie, and I want a certain people to join my pool. And so 10, 15, or 20 filmmakers themselves decide to join this pool, which is this rotational aspect of it. And so we say, hey, you know what? It's not going to be only you. I too would want to create my movie soon. So let's come together. But anyway, you created the pool yourself, so you'll be forced to receive the money. So we pulled funds together, maybe 10,000 stacks, maybe 20,000 stacks. We all pull each our contributions. It amounts to the funding targets, and you collect that money and you go shoot your movie, and then you make reports, reporting based system. We haven't gotten CineX hasn't um what's the word? We haven't iterated to that point, but we've built so far to the point where the co EP, the private pools are working, and we're about working on test and broadcast transactions. So these parts are already functional, and we hope that soon when we get to mainstream, we could be able to even make filmmakers lock their funds in the escrow, and the escrow can go for some yield generation, like as we have stacks, stake your fundings while you are trying to raise fundings. So that's
Yeah.
the eventual roadmap before we get to probably streaming. Because I was asked by a filmmaker, I met one of the top Nollywood directors I met in Abuja. I spoke with him last week, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I love this project, but really, we need something that can help us." He said, "We really need to be able to bypass this whole Netflix, guys.
Mm,
We want to stream our stuffs." And I'm like, that's part of the roadmap. And he asked me this one question. He said, "Why is there no streaming platform on Bitcoin?" That was the next thing he said to me.
mhm.
And I said, well, CineX is on that path already. We are halfway there. If we can get this first part done, we should be able to get the next part, which is streaming. Because if it becomes a one ecosystem, if it becomes an ecosystem where you can come and fund your project, why can't you just fund your project there and then also publish your project there? And so it becomes a full, complete ecosystem. And I
Mhm.
believe it will be able to get there soon,
Yeah. Yeah.
shortly.
Yeah. Look, I believe it. If I look at kind of the trajectory that you've been on and what you've done, I think it feels like everything that you've done has brought you here.
Hmm.
And I think the time is so right. It's like people have had enough of the kind of Netflix, Spotify. On the artist side, I mean, it's very convenient if I worked in the music industry for 25 years, and I only got
Oh,
Spotify for the first time at the beginning of last year because I just out of principle refused to get it. And it's a big sort of joke in our friends group now because I'm like, okay, I actually really like Spotify, but I don't. Okay, I don't, and I think it's no, it's a great product. Same like Netflix, it makes everything easy. It's there, it's at your fingertips, but it's really screwing all the people that
hmm.
are, you know, sort of that bringing the creative. So I think from a creative point of view, if we can bring a platform or something that allows them to put their work out easily and allows the kind of consumer or the fan or whatever to access that easily. And I think
Yep.
that's where kind of, if you look at blockchain and what it is, you don't need to know how the internet works or how finance works to use Netflix. So I think
Definitely.
blockchain and crypto are kind of going to just start almost living in the background, you know, um,
Mhm. I do. I
eventually.
agree with you. I agree. With you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
And that's where you
What?
just will
What?
have this moment of where it's not a whole scary new thing. It's just an easier thing, and it allows artists. And I think what I want to talk to you about CineX is you mentioned something just now. So an investor is going to have almost like ownership or shares or something in the product. So they're going to be earning. So you basically are investing and then you're earning from it.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
So you've got a vested
Sure.
interest to also get people to come and watch the film.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're getting it. It's a vested interest. I like that language. It's a vested interest, and it doesn't have to be rocket science anymore for the public. It doesn't have to be gated for only institutional investors. Anybody. That's what the blockchain represents: democracy, right? Democratized funding, and access, creative control. One of the things I know about the bottlenecks in the creative world, whether it's music, because I did music a little bit, I think I told you,
Yeah.
whether it's music or film, is that creative control is away from the creators themselves. It's always in the hand of the money bags.
Hmm.
So the money bags, whichever way we want, whether the ones now in control of traditional tech platforms like the Spotify's and the likes of them. So they define certain credentials, and if you don't meet those credentials, you are stopped. So certain stories that you need to tell, many societies are beginning to hunger to their folk tales, folklores. Every country has folk tales, stories
Hmm.
that the people appreciate. You won't believe it, Melanie. I can't remember the last time I saw a Hollywood movie. I'm serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sit in my country, and I there was a time I would never want to see a Nollywood movie. I kid you. I was always like, oh come on, I'll scowl the scowl on my face. What's Nollywood? But now
Mhm.
there's so much richness in our stories. I know we're not yet there yet, but the storylines, the plots, my soul can relate with them because it's my kind of story. I can't relate with Avengers. Come on, I don't know what that means to my
No,
life.
but I mean, isn't that? I mean, if you let's talk about that. I mean, let's talk about what it's like to live on a continent that's kind of looks nothing like Christmas, even, with the snow, and it looks nothing like Hollywood, and it looks nothing like a cover of a magazine, and it looks nothing that we've been fed for time
Yeah,
immemorial.
yeah,
It's like we are,
yeah.
this continent doesn't look like, and is isolated in many ways from
Mhm.
operating. Not only is it not shown, but we're isolated from operating within it. The opportunities for anybody, whether honestly from South Africa or South Africa or Nigeria. Yes, we've got different. It's different in many ways, but at the same time, we're on a continent that is isolated from that sort of global experience of culture and art and music, and and it's a story that hasn't been told, and it's
Yeah.
something that I was talking to somebody about the other day. I also wrote an article about it recently called talking about Bitcoin as a store, not only, well, as a store of value. And what is that value? It is both monetary value and cultural value. So it is a store of culture. And how do we store our own cultural stories on Bitcoin, and have it time
Mhm.
stamped, where institutions don't own your cultural story, or have the right to show your cultural story on a global stage. You have that right yourself. And so to put you know culture on the blockchain is taking stories back, don't you think, in many ways, and ownership of those stories.
Absolutely. I concur with you. Put our cultural stories on blockchain, and CineX is not about for Africa, right? But what we're saying is that even if you're a Korean and you're an American or you're Britain, whoever you are, you should be able to have control. You should have creative control over your stories. It should not be determined by studio execs. They shouldn't
Mm,
say, I kid you not, they do these things and they say these are the kind of stories they want. We know them. We shouldn't be saying them on. Let's just leave it, and let's leave it behind. But they define this kind of stories they want. They tell you, sometimes they go as much as telling you the kind of characters they want, but they are just stereotypes. Like you said, these are stereotypes. I've never seen snow in my country. Why should I see a movie about Christmas that
yeah,
that doesn't relate to my people? Yes, do I see it? I saw Home Alone as a kid. I appreciate the movie. I love the movie, but
yes,
I
it's
never
not.
could relate with a pager. I never could relate with a pager and an ATM that was used in those movies and all of those technologies there. Until many years later, as an African, I was like, oh, so that was what that device was for. Oh, okay, okay. But what
Yeah.
if the story was my kind of story? So what I'm
Mhm.
saying is, I believe we can and let me use the word, we can Bitcoinize our cultural stories on the blockchain.
Mm,
And everybody owns their stories. We own our culture. We own our feelings, our collective emotions, our collective patrimony together. We share because really human beings are we're a collection of stories.
mm,
We're a collection of stories. Yesterday, while I was going to church, I and my guys, while we were in the car going, and we're just gisting, and then we told ourselves something. We had to admit to ourselves that, hey, you know what? You know, we ain't going to church because we want to listen to the pastor. And everybody had to agree, yeah, because we could stream him online. We
yeah.
could stream the service online. So we agreed, no. The reason we're going to church, we're going to that auditorium is because we want to fraternize. Everybody said, yeah, we want to meet people, real people. And in quote, permit me to use, we want to gossip. We want to
Yeah.
hug each other. We want to kiss each other, talk, and just laugh, and then go back home. Because we could stream service online, you know. So
Yeah.
that's what makes because when we meet together in those places, we gist and talk, we tell stories to each other for the few times we're going to be in that auditorium and talk. And that's what humans are all about. We're a collection of stories. And nobody should censor our reality. I believe nobody should censor our reality. And that's what the blockchain can do. If a group of people who have a collective reality together decide we love this part of it's our reality, it's what's indigenous to us. And if traditional media will not give us the opportunity to tell us our reality the way, and we'll have to impose certain, in quotes, certain woke ideas on us so we can get funding, we will have to just, I mean, thank you, but there's an alternative. And that's what I believe CineX would be able to do for media. And maybe one of these days it will do it for music too. I look forward to that.
Mm. Look, I mean, it's an incredible point because basically what we're saying here is that finance finance shapes the stories that we're told, and it's just about time that that ends. You know, we want to.
Mm,
So I think by owning the finance, i.e., investing in filmmakers, you are owning your story.
yes,
You know,
yes.
so yeah, and now obviously this is open on a global scale. This is open to investors everywhere. How do we reach those people? How do you reach, you know, I'm a filmmaker, I come to you, I say, Victor, I've got this story. Obviously you're going to lead people through, because I get a feeling that you want to impart a lot of that, your knowledge on how to do it. So you're going to sort of take people through the route that they have to follow to put their synopsis down, their screenplay, their character bibles. They're going to put this all into their presentation. Now, you're obviously going to have some sort of, if I can think of something similar, it would be like Zero Authority and what they've built, where you get your online blockchain reputation. So you can't, you know, juke it. It's legitimate. It's there because it's on the chain. So I'm just kind of trying to
Yeah,
work through
yeah.
how this
It's
happens.
legit.
So then how do we so then I think then what I'm trying to figure out here with you is the next step then is to really kind of take this both locally, so it will start locally in your village, in your city, in your town, in your country, and then as people get to know it more and more. I mean, like you said, you've met Hollywood movie directors already.
Nollywood. Nollywood.
Oh,
We call them
Nollywood.
Nollywood,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry. Yes, no, no, I know Nollywood. So you've met these directors already. So no, I know
Yep.
Nollywood. Um, so you've met these directors already. So these people already
Yep.
have a commitment to or awareness of or interaction with other filmmakers. Uh,
Sure.
Now, how do people consume films? Because how do you reach the people? I mean, you were talking about now um, streaming and developing the streaming platform, which, I mean, if you think about it, it's actually, now that I think about it, really important, because that's how you're going to. But I suppose you've also got YouTube. Would people be able to create like maybe short films to start off with to build their career out, put those out on YouTube? Because you really want to not be reliant on something like Netflix.
Well, we can't still excuse the fact that the traditional media is here, and they are the they're the current custodians of streaming. But the underdogs are always allowed to come in.
Yeah.
So one of the advantages that your first question was, how do we get people? So let me face that first.
Yes.
Like we rightly said, I remembered in my proposal to the grants, I talked about the fact that I have access to the cooperative society here in Jos where I stay. And the founder of the film, the Creative Cooperative Society, is one of the film directors who lives in Abuja. And I've made a lot of contact with him and another. Being myself once a filmmaker, and he, coincidentally, that's the same man whose private film academy I passed through.
Okay.
So he's seen me evolve as a student to become an executive in quotes. And so we have a father-son relationship. So I think that has given me a big edge, because all I need to do is simply just pick a phone. And currently what we are working on is we're trying to tidy up certain parts of the testnet broadcast transactions. Me and my development team, my front end team, we're trying to work on that. When we're done, we're supposed to book a meeting. So this is like, it's okay, leave the door. This is actually, the blockchain is not supposed to be separate, diverse from reality, or tech is not supposed to be diverse from reality. So unlike most techies would build a platform and they will say, hey, go do SEO, search engine optimization, optimize this and optimize that. Yeah, I agree with you. But look, you're dealing with human beings.
Yeah.
And you should be able to run physical campaigns, like talk to people, have webinars with people, talk to people, real people, and not marketing gimmicks or digital marketing gimmicks. And so I'm planning these meetings, um, so that I do not abuse these people. They are not commodities, they are not products. These are real human beings, real filmmakers with pain points. I mean, I think after this show I'm going to screenshot my chat logs with these directors. They are going through a terrible pain. The pain they are going through is unimaginable. And I didn't even have to pitch 10% of what I'm talking to you. When I talk to them, they literally, both of the big guys I talked to literally jumped on it and said, hey, when are you starting? Like,
Yeah.
even if it's test net, I explained to them, they are like, look, we have a problem, we know it's a problem. And so we're working on either having Zoom meetings, or probably I may have to travel to Abuja to do some presentations, walk through. By the side, I'm building some videos already, and you saw one of those videos on X. So
Yes.
walking them through, and there are new videos I've worked on, which is going to show them literally how to get a wallet, a leather wallet or an Xverse wallet, how to create your wallet, how to go to testnet, how to get some test tokens. Just show them. I know onboarding for crypto is really problematic, but we will take them through that. When onboarding becomes much more better, we will cross that bridge. But I want to take these guys through like babies, take them around with these videos, go and see them, hear them out. I've worked with them, I know the pain points. I'm literally still among them. I talk with them often. And so that's what we want to do. It's literally a real guerrilla warfare marketing. It's not, I am not depending on the digital space to do this. I'm depending on real relationships locally, first of all. And when we're done with that, and I think between now and the next 2, 3 weeks, should be done with all of these real road campaigns, and then bring them to test net, and then those feedbacks will help us now open it up to the digital space for people from across Nigeria, South Africa, the whole world. And I'm looking forward to Koreans, especially. Those guys have amazing stories.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
So
All of this, I love this idea of sharing everybody, people being able to share their stories. And do you think, do you offer assistance with kind of once the film is made, just like guiding people into how to maybe get it into these traditional streaming platforms so that they can make sure that their film does get seen? Or is that kind of next level in the plan, or not part of the current roadmap?
okay, so well, I assume that, okay, not an assumption. One of the smart contract logic is that a campaign should not be less than 30 days. It should be at least 30 days. Take
Okay.
30 days to work on your campaign. And when I mean your campaign, trying to raise funding, all of those things you go through, set up your campaign, and then try to do social media to get people to, fund you and invite people. You should spend about 30 days. And it will wear people out if it's beyond 30 days. But if you think your audience can still engage beyond 30 days, no problem. And so so this assumption is a safe assumption that before we're done with testnet and into mainnet, um, and then people now start to get their feet wet, we would have crossed over into the streaming part, because it's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to get the streaming part side by side with the yield bearing aspect. So when funds are being contributed, it should be able to be locked in. There's an escrow already. So CineX has an escrow functionality. This escrow should automatically, we haven't worked on that logic yet, but we have the escrow. So beyond just holding the funds and releasing it when the target has been met, we should be able to work out the escrow to be able to move funds into some yield generating programs like staking on stacks,
Mm-hmm.
dual staking, all of. So begin to work that aspect side by side with streaming. So it becomes a complete value generation platform. So before we will go through this whole phase of trying to get the public to get their feet wet, development on the streaming aspect should have hit way before, I'm sure before the middle of the year, because the distribution part is important. I can't trust all of CineX's what's it called, life cycle to filmmakers taking it. Dominic, I can't trust this life cycle of CineX to filmmakers taking their distribution outside of CineX to other platforms that we cannot verify.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's a fascinating
But
story.
because when a movie is, when you can't verify, yeah, yeah, I'm listening to you, listening.
Oh no, the audio just went dead. I think we had a little technical. You
A
there?
glitch, I guess.
There we go. We're back.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
What a story, and I love it, and I wish you, such great success. We've been on for about an hour, so or has it been more? I don't even. It feels like I think it's been a long time. You and me can definitely we can chat. We can chat a lot. Okay. Look, I think we can start kind of winding down. I think a kind of final question would really just be, what are the next steps and where can people reach you? Kind of what you looking to bring on board just to start it off. Are you looking for some people to kind of like maybe start thinking about their projects? So just a sort of a final little roundup of where you are at and what the next steps are for people who are watching and going, listen, I want to make a movie. What are my next steps? What do I do?
So next steps are get ready to see us begin to introduce information on how to test this thing on testnets, beta testing, right? So that's where we're at now. Working on bringing people to test quickly and iterate. So for now, just get ready for testing, and then eventually just test it. That's all. Nothing really complicated. Just come test, and that's all. We're taking it little baby steps. It's baby steps. People should just look out for testing. That's it.
Okay. And then just a
Yeah.
heads up on X, people can find you at paper to screen. That's paper and then the number 2 and then screen.
Sure. Well,
Yes. All right.
digit
Amazing.
two.
Yes, just the digit, the number
Thank you
2.
so much.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Thank you.
I've loved our conversation, and I've I think there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to here with what you're building. And I definitely would like to have you on again to touch base kind of in the future so that we can kind of like see how it is going. I think it's a very important thing that you're building. So yeah, just very grateful that you joined me today.
Grateful to be here too. Thank you.
All right. Well, happy what is it? It's not New Year's yet. We're 2 days or 3 days away from
Happy
New Year's
holidays.
Eve. Yes, happy holidays. We're just a few days left of that until we hit the ground running for 2026. So yeah, just thank you, Victor, for joining me. And I'm so happy we finally got it right to all through our technical problems. And everyone for tuning in. Thank you very much for listening and joining us today. I hope you enjoyed Victor's story. And please look out for CineX coming soon to the Stacks ecosystem. Like Victor said, paper to screen. Give him a follow on X. Let's support this project. And let's support artists. Let's support filmmakers. Really important part of our future because, like Victor says, we all use film every day of our lives. It's what we use to chill out when we get to the end of the day. So let's support it and let's get those filmmakers making films. This has been Stacks Pulse. I am Melanie Carstens, and we are here every single Monday at 11 a.m. ET. So please, you know, watch, I don't know what. I just start thinking of New Year's Eve. So please follow, do what you do. Like, subscribe, share, just so that we can get this independent Bitcoin media out there and people learning more about what's going on with Stacks. So yeah, thanks very much for joining. Have a wonderful new year, and we shall see you on the other side. Thank you very much, Victor.